Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the HJC C91 modular helmet. So the C91 modular is going to be a sub $200 option for any touring commuter riders out there. Anybody just looking for a modular style helmet if they want to pick up this chin bar at a stoplight, or if you're coming into a gas station, you don't want to take off your entire helmet. Modular helmets have been growing in popularity, and I really see it as someone for the touring market and, like I said, the commuter market, just because someone who's spending a lot of hours on the bike, you tend to start wanting a little bit more creature comforts, and having that modular option is always a solid thing to add into your gear closet. Now the C91 sits under the I91 and a few other modulars within HJC's line. What you really need to know though, it's sub $200, coming in right around the $170 to $180 price point as we shoot this video. But it's going to be a polycarb main construction, so it is a plastic shell all the way throughout, including the chin bar, and you're getting 2 shell sizes. Now keep in mind, with those 2 shell sizes, it's actually 1 shell for most riders out there. That's between extra small and 2 extra large. And then the larger sizes, 3 extra large up to 5 extra large, are that second shell size. So it's really just for that bump in the shells at the upper size. But I will say, having a helmet that comes in at that 5 extra large sizing range is always a solid option. We get asked a lot how many helmets we have for those bigger head riders out there. If you know that it's very hard to find options out there. HJC has always been filling that need, and I like that they're doing it with a modular, especially in the more price point oriented portion of the market. So it's going to be 2 shell sizes, again, really 1 shell size for most riders out there, but 2 shell sizes total, 4 different EPS liners throughout the entire shell to really customize the fit when it comes to overall sizing. But it is going to be DOT only. It's not going to have an ECE 2206 or anything like that. So HJC, if you're listening, under the $200 price point, I'm willing to kind of like let that slide, that it's DOT only, but we're always looking for a little bit more when it comes to the safety certifications out there. Internal fit, it's going to be the intermediate oval, so a little bit longer front to back than it is side to side, pretty spot on for most of the US market. And I will say, when it comes to modulars, intermediate oval is a little bit more on the rare side, just because the overall shape with the pivoting system, it tends to make most helmets a little bit more rounder oval. So I like that they're making an intermediate oval for most of the US market. I mentioned again, I'll say it again though, extra small up to 5 extra large is the full size range, and it is true to size. I'm a medium in every helmet that I wear out there on my bike. The medium in this C91 was fitting me spot on when I was out there test riding it. So keep that in mind. If you reference that size chart, you should be all set. We always have our how to size and buy video for helmets. If you need a little bit more information, or if you're just buying your first helmet, you really want to make sure you're dialing it in, or if you don't understand what intermediate oval is, go check out that video. Really help explain a lot of the specifics when coming down to sizing and figuring out which helmet is right for you and your head. But let's start looking at the C91. Working our way through it. You do have 2 intake vents. One is down here on the chin bar that I mentioned earlier. One thing to keep in mind though, that only goes to the face shield. It doesn't actually get direct air through to the face, but if you need a little bit more air, you can always just open up the chin bar, or even just open up the face shield to get a little bit more extra airflow through to your face if you need it. Otherwise, that chin vent is going to be going straight to the face shield to help defog it. You can actually see pretty pronounced detents in that vent down at the chin bar. I do like that. Up at the top, you have another intake vent that is just handled with a little toggle switch up top. It does have 3 position. One thing I will say, it doesn't really hold the middle position very well. It's actually great in open or closed, which is probably solid for most riders out there. Not many people are only wanting a little bit of air. You either want full blast of air, or you want to turn it off on colder days. But you do have it up there. A little bit difficult to find with a gloved hand, but after a couple minutes of riding, I was able to get used to it. So not too troubling up there. As far as exhaust vents go, you do have 2 passive exhaust vents, so ones you can't open or close, tucked into a slight spoiler in the back of the shell. It's going to help suck all the air out. It does have decent channels in the EPS to help flow that air front to back, so keep in mind that's where it's going to be exhausting out of the back of the helmet. Looking at the face shield in the front, you do have a single tab on the left side to go ahead and lift it up. Okay, detents in there, not something that's going to hold at highway speeds, but it's something that you can easily pop up if you're at a stop. If you don't feel like lifting the whole chin bar, you can get a little bit of air coming through there, but you do have it. It is pin lock ready, not the flattest shield we've seen out there on the market. Again, under $200, we don't expect it to be top notch in every single category, and that is one of them, where it's a little bit more concave when it comes to the shape of the shield, but that's okay. It's still optically correct. I wasn't having any issues riding down the road or any distortion or anything like that. It is pin lock ready. The pin lock is sold separately, which isn't surprising, sub $200. So if you want that and you want to add in a fog proof system inside of the helmet, you just want to pick up that pin lock insert for this C91 specifically. You also get a drop down dark smoke sun visor in there. 65 millimeters is the length that I actually measured it with inside there. I've seen HJC go up to 80 to 85 millimeters on some of their top line modulars, so they're pulling back on with more of a traditional size when it comes to it. I will say underneath of the eye, if you're looking down the road, underneath of it, it doesn't cover all the way down. That's what you get with about 65 millimeters instead of the extra 10 to 15. And it seems like a small amount, but it does make the difference, especially if you have sunglasses out there that you're used to that are very small. You really tell the difference when you go to a larger set. So keep that in mind if you are looking at it. But again, under $200 is more of a price point oriented helmet from HJC. The lever to control the drop down is at the top of the helmet. You can actually just slide it back and forward. It's on a rod system, so it's not something that's going to bound up or any spring loaded or anything like that. It's nice and easy to use. We don't see many manufacturers putting them on the top anymore. Most have gone to mounting them on the side. It does free you up to use a little bit more of a universal Bluetooth mount on the side if you wanted to, but on top it is just a direct connection to the drop down sun visor, so it's a little bit more sturdy over the use of the helmet and over the lifespan of the helmet as well. One thing I want to talk about, under that $200 price point, you're getting a little bit less refinement when it comes to the overall design of the shell. You can actually see it's a pretty sleek design aerodynamic wise, and the weight itself, it is 3 pounds, 12 ounces in a size medium, which is about average for modular. But one thing I will say, it feels very lightweight in your hand when you're actually using it. There's no frills or anything like that adding weight to the overall main construction, but it does hold its weight very well. It's very evenly balanced, but you can see things like the exposed bolts on the side, which is where the actual pivot system occurs for the modular, are just exposed. There's no cover system or anything like that on the side. So those are the refinements that you are missing at this price point. If you want something a little bit better, you can bump up, like I said earlier, to the I91 or some of the other modulars within HJC's line. You get a different shell main construction. You get a couple more shells added in there, but you also get a little bit more refinement than just these exposed bolts on the side. Lifting it up, and if we take a peek at the interior of this helmet, I'll go ahead and pop it open. I'll actually get the drop down sun visor out of the way. You do have a removable chin skirt that comes included in the box, just 2 snaps. So if you want to add that in there, I don't tend to ride with them just because I want a little bit more airflow coming in. But in the winter months, that is a solid option to have at least in your gear bag or in your garage. You can add it in when the weather drops and you want that air to not go in. Double D-ring system to get into the shell itself, which is pretty classic for the US market. And I'll remove the cheek pads on this one. You can actually see pretty decent contour to the cheek pads themselves, really soft material. It is antimicrobial. It is something that's gonna air out and be breathable once you're out there riding, but it's not an emergency release system or anything like that. It's just 3 snaps and the slider system on the side to get that in there. I'll go ahead and pop the other side out and we can take a peek on the interior and look at the top liner. For the price point, sometimes you'll get to this price point under $200 and you'll actually get snaps up at the front. I like that HJC is still using a brow mount. It's what we look for in all the helmets out there. Snaps at the front can cause fatigue as the foam starts to wear out. You start to feel those snaps coming through and create pressure points. A brow mounted system is relatively easy to design, so I like that they're using it on here because it's an easy fix for them that adds creature comforts over the entire lifespan of your helmet. But honestly, a pretty sweet design, 3D printed foam all the way throughout and sewn together. So it's going to give you nice channels for the airflow to come through. As we peek at the interior, I'll point out you do have speaker pockets in there. This is designed for the HJC 10B and 20B systems when it comes to their Bluetooth, which are Sena operated systems. Just under the HJC umbrella, you can actually see the battery location at the back of the helmet in there. That battery system is where you'll actually tuck the battery inside and then mount the system clamped onto the side of the helmet. But you can see the speaker pockets in there. If you're using a universal system like I mentioned earlier, you totally can. Any helmet can really take any Bluetooth system out there with enough elbow grease and thought process to the wiring. But one thing I'll call out, it's only 40 millimeter speaker pockets. So you're not going to be using the biggest from Cardo. You're not going to be using the biggest from Sena when it comes to their speaker system. So just keep that in mind unless you are adding a buffer in there to go ahead and bring the speakers closer into your ears and out of this pocket. Just keep it in mind, it is designed for the 10B and the 20B, although you can get away with that. You can actually see the channels all the way throughout to route the wiring for the 10B system. You can also use that for universal systems as well. Take a good look at the interior, that EPS inside there. I mentioned it's 4 EPS liners, but one thing I wanted to call out is pretty decent channels in there. Nothing crazy, nothing revolutionary, but it is going to help flow air from the front of the helmet to the back of the helmet and help you cool off on those hotter days out there. Anybody who's owned a helmet that doesn't flow a decent amount of air can tell you having that airflow through across your head on the inside is the easiest way to cool off on the summer days. But you can always lift up the chin bar and get a little bit more air flowing through. So coming in on that sub $200 price point, again, right around the 170 to 185, depending on the size and color that you're choosing. Pretty solid option from HJC. If you want more, they have other options out there like the I91 and a few others in the ARFA line for a modular design. But considering you're getting that $170 price point, you're getting 2 shells, the polycarb main construction, and again, just an overall lightweight helmet that's very well balanced, I think it's a solid option from HJC for the price point and the market that they're going after. But if you have any other questions, click that info button. It's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews, see what other riders are saying about the C91. Don't just take my word for it. Do your own research as well to make sure it's right for you and your riding style. If you still have questions after that, or if you're confused on sizing, give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the HJC C91 modular helmet. I'm Pat. I'll see you in the next video.